Very good morning to you, everybody. Thank you very much, Bante, for giving me this chance. I think one of the speakers who is coming to our IBMC gives a talk on every Sunday. So few weeks ago, Bante Shanti asked me whether I can give a talk today. Of course, I responded quickly, saying that I'm ready for that. Of course, I must be thankful to everyone who are here to attend our Sunday service. Of course, we do have a regular audience on every Sunday, and today I think I feel great. It's been almost 2 years I'm in US, and we do have a lot of speakers here. Every day one of the speakers, they take a very specific topic here and use it, and they make you understand what is all about our life is, and what is all about our existence is, and like that. So when I thought of what I'm going to talk today, of course I was impressed. One of the places in the Buddha's teaching, how he has asked his disciples, his followers, to live a very peaceful and very calm life. So my topic is, if I would say, how to be a non-respondent whenever we are faced with stimuli. And at the same time, I would prefer to present 5 steps of 5 windows of getting rid of this, stimuli, or how to stay calm without responding to events, circumstances, daily hassles in our life. So with that good intention, of course I would like to quote something, one of the sutras in the Buddha's original teachings. Buddha says, our mind is, originally our mind is pure and transparent, calm and peaceful, but of course he says, pabassaramidam bhikkave chittang. That's how the text goes. And he says, whenever it is perturbed by foreign thoughts, whenever it is spoiled by unnecessary thoughts, you become unhappy, and you feel great deal of uneasiness in your life. The text says, the text goes, Tanchako agantuke upakkilese upakkilittang. Here in this sutra, in this discourse, we can find, if we follow only this statement, we can find a very particular word, agantuka. Agantuka means something foreign. We do feel great in every moment until we face a very troublesome situation, a problem in our life. Even at this point, I know that everybody, we are experiencing that calm, that serenity in our mind. But the problem comes whenever we are faced with, situations, events and circumstances in our life. So when we get depressed or when we get stressed, in such situations, Buddha has likened, it to a dirty cloth. So if you can read the 7th sutra, the 7th discourse of the middle-length discourses of the Buddha, that is how Bhikkhu Bodhi and Bhikkhu Nyanamoli, both these monks have translated the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length discourses of the Buddha, into English. So you can find this statement at the very beginning of the sutra. It is called Vattupama. In Pali, Vatta means the cloth, and Buddha takes and Buddha says, just as a dirty cloth which is stained, which is dirty, which is patched, our mind is also get depressed with whenever it is faced with bad thoughts. Buddha says, the text says, chitte sankilitte duggati patikanka. Suppose if your mind is not clean, if your mind is not peaceful, then there is something inevitable that will happen to us in every fraction of a second. It is nothing but a spoiled mind, a bad mind. In other words, a stressful situation, a stressed mind. So if we follow these both original texts, the one I quoted earlier, our mind is always pure and calm. But whenever it is faced with troublesome situations, events and circumstances, it gets spoiled. And at the same time, suppose if we try, as the way Buddha points out in the sutra Stimuli of the cloth, if we try to dye a cloth which is dirty and which is stained, and it becomes hard, and of course we would feel exhausted. That is the same thing when we talk about our mind. So now I would remember very well one of the very nice stories that we can use to explain this what I said earlier. This is a very, very interesting story, and a young man got a very nice chance to marry a girl. Of course, he got married with a girl, and they used to have a very nice time. This man used to have a very nice time with his newly married wife. So every day, whoever comes to meet him, or whoever he meets, they would ask the question him, how is your new life? And then he would say, of course, it's great. I do feel great. Everything is going on smoothly. I don't see any trouble or any stressful situations in my life. It is because of my newly married wife. I'm of course having a great life this time. Of course, this happened for more than 3 years. And at the same time, during this period of time, whenever he comes from his work, after his work, his newly married wife used to come forward and greet him with something or other, you know. So according to this story, she said that, you know, this wife, she used to bring the slippers, the pair of slippers for the young man every day, whenever he came from after work. This happened for more than 3 years, and at the same time, while it was going on like this, something extraordinary happened. A puppy, you know, a dog also used to come in front of him, and instead of doing, you know, passing greetings, what it did was, you know, he barked at this young man, and this also continued for more than, you know, almost 3 years. The newly married wife greeted him every day, and the dog used to bark at this person every day for 3 years. After 3 years, you know, this became vice versa. And after he came from his work, what happened? Instead of having greetings from his newly married wife, he had the greetings from the puppy. Of course, the puppy used to come forward and welcome the young man affectionately, with, you know, wagging its tail, and like this. So what did the wife do? She kept on, you know, every day when he came after work, she used to kept on prattling incessantly. She used to, you know, she was nagging the husband. By this time, the puppy, the dog, it came forward with the slippers. Earlier, it was his wife who took the slippers, but after some time, after 3 years, it was the puppy who came forward with the slippers and greeted the young man. So that's why I told you, you know, it became the vice versa after 3 years. And one day, of course, he was depressed. He got stressed. He was not happy with his life, and he wanted to have an answer for this troublesome, you know, life. So what did he do? He went to the temple and met the abbot of the temple. So the abbot of the temple, after listening to the story of this young man, he said, things are the same. What has happened here is the way how you responded to it has, you know, worsened the situation. Otherwise, even today, you have the greetings. It doesn't matter from whomever it comes, whether it is from the dog or from your wife, still you have the greetings, still you have the slippers. So this is a very nice, you know, very, very interesting story that I remembered suddenly when I was thinking about how I should give this talk today with that, you know, particular sutra. Of course, our life is with a lot of ups and downs. Every day we face with something new, something strange in our life, whenever we face with, only with good things, we become happy. When we are living in it doesn't matter whether it is your working place or whether it is whether you are at your home, every time you would definitely face something strange in your life. That is why I would like to say that, with the topic how to be a non-respondent, events are secondary. Of course, events are secondary. If we can control our mind, and if we can keep on peace in our mind, events are of course secondary. Events cannot do nothing, it can do nothing much to our lives. If we can take the responsibility of, maintaining the peace and tranquility in our mind. That's why I told you earlier, whether it doesn't matter whether it happens in your working place, in your home, or wherever you go, this can happen until the last breath of our life. So in those situations, people would think that I'm useless. My life is something meaningless. My life does not make any sense to others. Some would think that I'm ugly, I'm of course utterly a failure. I'm not cooperative. I cannot live with the others. I'm uneducated. I'm not intelligent. Like this, they would go through a lot of irrational thoughts. I think when we go very deeper into the history, it was not only the Buddha who, talk about these things. Many scientists, no doubt, many scientists, philosophers, religious leaders, free thinkers, many of them, intelligent people, they talk about this topic from time to time, but here we have to understand words and expressions may be different, but the message is the same. Everyone wanted to talk about something particular. It is, as the way I presented the topic, how to be a non-respondent in front of stimulus. So I think in America in 1970s something very, very important happened. It was the greatest, one of the greatest psychologists, Albert Ellis, who introduced the rational approach. And REBT, he says man is a rational being. Whatever we look at our life, our failures, our problems, circumstances in our life, how we respond to it, anyway, man is an individual is a rational being. Why? Because he has the ability to analyze these events, circumstances, in brief, this world, and at the same time to respond to that world, that perception accordingly. That's how Albert Ellis says. Otherwise, all the thoughts that we have in our life, sometimes, as the way I told you earlier, suppose if you think that I'm a useless person to this world, and I have done many bad things in this world, and my life would become a failure, whatever the way I try my best to achieve it. Those are irrational thoughts, according to Albert Ellis. Irrational thoughts and illogical assumption. Suppose if people, of course, people suffer from irrational and illogical thoughts without scientific reasons. All of these assumptions are, I do believe, as the way Albert Ellis says, self-developed, and those are self-imaginations. And at the same time, what will happen is, what is inevitable is, at the end we will come to hazy conclusions, as the way I pointed out earlier. So, of course, you may have heard, you may have listened to these kind of explanations, talks in your life, and in many occasions. So my purpose is not just only to talk about or to explain what is this all about, how to be a non-respondent in your life. In other words, how we can maintain a peaceful life in stimuli, and at the same time, now I remember the greatest English poet, Shakespeare, William Shakespeare. He says in his drama Hamlet, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. You have to analyze this statement depending on the circumstance, where he used this line in his drama. Otherwise, some would argue that why not? There are bad things and good things in this world. But he is addressing to a person's mind. I mean the English poet William Shakespeare also. So that's why I say there is nothing perfect in this world. Think about a person, think about your parents, think about your teachers, think about your children, think about whoever you are associating today, or whoever with you are living. All of us may have something failure in our life, a weak point in our life. Other than the perfect people in the world, according to Buddhism, who are called as arahants, one who has come to the highest, the state, they are called arahants. Except these people, all the other people in this world, they are living with a lot of, weak points, failures. That's why no one is perfect in this world. So, I remember very well in one of the sutras, if I try to explain this a little bit, in one of the sutras in the same collection of discourses, in the Middle End Sayings, if I'm not mistaken, it is the 20th one, Buddha says, if we use this sutra, in this particular discourse, we can see 5 windows, 5 steps of not reacting to stimuli. Of course, it has been explained in connection with the meditation, how you can develop your mind. But of course, if we use the same discourse, this explanation, we can find 5 windows, 5 steps to get rid of stimuli in our day-to-day life. The first one is Buddha says change the situation, change the attention. Whenever you get depressed, whenever you get stressed, the best thing is, the first step is change the attention. Suppose if your wife is nagging you, the best thing is change the attention. Then the problem is over. You will be happy. You will experience a lot of peace in your mind. In the original text, it is said anya nimitta. Anya nimitta means change the attention. That's the first step, the first window you can use to get rid of stressful events and situations. Second one is Buddha says avoid any stimuli, any stressful situation, thinking its repercussions, the bad aspect of that, what you are going through. That is the second one. It is presented in the original text as adinava nimitta. This is particularly for those who are studying Buddhism in original text. Then the third one is deliberate forgetting and try to change the attention. Suppose if it is happening to you again and again, in the third step, suppose if it does not become something successful in your life, if you follow the first step, when you are going to change the attention, suppose if it does not become fruitful, you can follow the second one. Suppose if the second one also does not bring you expected results, then the third one is you can deliberately forget it. Purposefully, you can forget the stimuli, what makes you unhappy, and at the same time you can change the attention with that. That is the the third one. It is called in original text asati amanasikara nimitta. So when we go to the fourth step, it is all about you can analyze the respondents. Sometimes you cannot change your attention. Sometimes you cannot avoid the situation. Though you try your best to get rid of stressful situations. For instance, think about a problem you are having at home, or with your boss, or with whomever you are living today. Sometimes you may not be able to forget it, or you may not be able to change your attention, to avoid, to ignore that. In such a situation, the best thing is explained in the sutras. You can analyze your respondents. In other words, just think about how you perceived that particular event or circumstance in your life, that experience in your life. So you can use it in a better way. In other words, this is all about introspection. You can turn back to yourself and think whether you are responding to it in a better way. You can think whether it is the best way. Of course, it wouldn't be the best way when you look at yourself. Otherwise, that's why I told you this world is with a lot of troubles and difficulties. Every day you would find, and you may come across a person whom you would not prefer to associate or prefer to at least see. But if it goes like this, you'll have to be isolated, in this world. So anyway, when we come to the fifth step, the fifth window is, Buddha says, suppose if you try all these 5 windows, from the first one to the fourth one, change the attention, then avoid it thinking it's a bad aspect. Third one, you can purposefully forget it and change your attention. Then the fourth one, you can analyze the respondents. Suppose still it is a failure. In the fourth step, Buddha says you can use your all energy, you can use your power, all energy to its best. For what? To get rid of these stressful situations. So I think that's how we can have a very peaceful and a very calm life in our day-to-day life. And with that, I would like to quote one of the interesting few lines by Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, he was an Austrian psychologist, a neurologist, and a psychiatrist. And he was the person who introduced the therapy, logotherapy, a form of, I think, existential approach. And Viktor Frankl, he wrote a very nice book called, Man's Search for Meaning. If you can, please try to find it and read it. I think you may have already read it. I mean, some of you. Anyway, he says like this: between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies the freedom and our power to choose our response. In those choices lie our growth and our happiness. Remember that between stimulus and response there is a space, and this space is nothing but you can use your mind. You can use the same experience, the same stimuli, and you can transform it, and you can lead a very peaceful and happy life. And with that, I would like to come to an end of my speech. Thank you.